Advent is 4 full weeks, and it couldn't have come at a better time. In the last several weeks, we have been witnessing one horror after another, not only around the world, but in our own country. How many mass shootings have there been since the beginning of November? How many people have been sacrificed to a wild abandon of firearms? How many people have fled from starvation and persecution and fear from one country to another? How many nations have been at war with each other? We think of one in Europe, but there have been several around the world. As the Pope said, the Third World War has already begun. It's just being done in piecemeal. So Advent could not have come at a better time. What is the one thing that is in common in all of these shootings that have taken place in our culture? If you read the papers in the following days, you find that the perpetrators of these atrocities have been people who have had lives that were bereft of love. People who were constantly belittled by their fellow employees. People who were bullied in school. People who came from dysfunctional families where love was never an experience. Acceptance was never a guarantee. So we need Advent, because Advent is a prelude to our celebration of the coming of God's love into the world in person, in the person of Jesus. And each one of us, even though we feel very helpless in these days of anxiety and problems and atrocities and feel that we can do nothing about it, we are mistaken. And that is Advent's message. Because if we enter into the spirit of Advent, into the quiet and the loving appreciation of what God has done for us in Christ, then we will change the world. The most important line in the whole Bible, the one verse which each one of us should know by heart and repeat constantly, is John 15:9. Jesus said to his disciples, "As the Father has loved me, I have loved you." That's the whole Bible summed up in one verse. We live because of the love of Jesus, because of love of the Father flowing through Jesus to us. And our problem is we don't realize that enough. We don't live in that love. And that is why Advent, a time of quiet, prayerful meditation, is so needed by us Christians at this time. I would make a suggestion. During every day of Advent, give yourself 20 minutes to a half hour of silence. Read a verse of the Bible. Read 131, the Psalm, which says, "As a weaned child in the lap of its parent, so are we in the arms of God." And let that realization sink into us. Read a little bit and then lapse into silence and just rest in the lap of God quietly, without thinking, without worrying, even without praying in words. And let the realization of God's loving presence seep into our very being. Because it's only if we realize that love and live in that experience will peace come to our world. We are helpless in the face of aggression and problems and things that are out of our control, but we can bring the love of God into the world if we experience it ourselves and then affect everyone by the experience that we have had. God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, and his only Son gave us, his disciples, to make sure that that love is continually experienced. Have a long and fruitful and peaceful Advent.